Hello, I'm Maciej Wikos and you're watching World Talks. Next week, the Hungarians will vote in the most consequential parliamentary elections of the decade. Will Viktor Orbán stay in power, or will he be replaced by the opposition TISA party? To talk about the latest from Hungary, we're joined by István Szent-Iványi, former Hungarian State Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So according to the latest opinion poll by 21 Research Center, it's 56 to 37% for TISA among the decided voters, with the whopping 26% of voters remaining undecided. So can Viktor Orbán still secure the victory on the 12th of April?
I don't think so. Viktor Orbán would like to mobilize and would like to persuade this 26%, but I don't think so that it has so large reserve. He now it's at the end and on the edge of their resources. And in the latest days, they have got some very bad news and bad developments for his campaign. And therefore, I don't believe in that. Of course, it can be rigged, the whole election, and can be fraudulent. And in that case, it may happen something which is unexpected. But in a normal case, it's already done. I suppose of all three major poll station or poll organization shows 20, 19, 16% ahead of Orbán party, Fidesz party. Therefore, I think it seems to be a sure victory for the opposition.
Well, you're not mentioning the state-owned polling stations, which give a slightly different, produce slightly different results. But about the undecided voters, do you think that they'll just simply stay home, will not take part in the vote?
According to the polls, it will be a record high turnout. They expect more than 80%. We have got the highest until now, the 74%. It may happen, and therefore that means that not so many will leave at home. But I'm sure that maximum 80% will be the turnout. It's always at least 20% who are not showing up because they are not interested, they are not informed and undecided. Therefore, a few percentage who are really undecided and they are going to vote on the 12th of April. And the whole campaign now is working on them and focusing on them, on those people who will be there. And at the moment, it's not decided. But the latest developments, as I have indicated and referred, it's very disfavorable for the government. For instance, Mr. Szijjártó, intimate talks, phone calls with Mr. Lavrov, which is a huge scandal here in Hungary, it may undermine the hope of the ruling party.
It's the scandal that echoes throughout the whole of Europe, but the opinion polls show that the public support for the still ruling Fidesz party is not dropping. Therefore, Fidesz has its strong, decided base of voters, right, which simply does not fluctuate to other political groupings. Therefore, my questions. But you say that this scandal may finally drown the chances of Viktor Orbán to get re-elected as the Prime Minister.
I suppose you are right that there's a solid, firm electorate is there behind Mr. Orbán. That's true, but it is not enough. Now he needs to have the undecided voters, and these developments and these scandals may have a strong impact on the undecided electorate, and that's very important. Of course, the hardcore and die-hard Fidesz voters cannot be overturned and cannot be convinced not to vote for Mr. Orbán. Maybe some slight size of the Fidesz electorate can be uncertain and can be unsure that he should vote for Fidesz now, because even until the latest time in the Fidesz there was some electorate who was not in favor of Russia and the so close relationship with Russia, as turned out from these phone calls, from this very intimate phone calls, and maybe they will be at home and not showing up at the polling stations. That could happen. That some of them have been diverted from voting. Not many. I don't remember. I don't believe in that. But some of them could be intimidated from that.
Now, for the obvious reasons, I've been asking you about the ruling Fidesz and the main opposition party, that is TISA. But there's a third player on this board, and it's the far-right Our Homeland Party. And it's balancing there with more or less 5% of voters willing to cast their ballots for this party. Now, do you see them forming a coalition with Fidesz if that's what it takes to form a ruling majority?
I suppose in that case, if they need, they will form. Maybe not a formal coalition, only a support from outside, but I'm sure that they are ready to do that. Even Mr. Lazar, who is a very strong man in the Fidesz, is a minister for transport and construction. He obviously said that our Homeland Party, this far-right radical party, can be a good partner. In a sense, that's an outside supporter. They know exactly that our Homeland Party in the government could be a very bad signal for the European Union, and it could lead some isolation, as it has happened before with Austria. For Austria, when they made a coalition with the FPÖ party. Therefore, I don't think so that they risk that option, but they can make a deal with them. I'm sure.
Now, in the unlikely scenario that the opposition fails to win the parliamentary elections, what consequences would it have for Hungary, and what consequences would it have for the whole of Europe, at least the rest of Europe aligned within the EU? Now, can you imagine the EU working the same way, with Hungary blocking its decisions for years to come as it used to?
I don't think so. The outlook for Hungary is very bad and very gloomy, I am sure. And as far as I know, there are some scenarios, and all of them are very, very bad for the country. They wanted to get rid of the voting right, or get rid of the financial supports, and many different kind of punishments in the plans in Brussels. That's for Hungary. For Europe, it's also bad. I think so, because it may cause some problem. It could be an encouragement for the other right-wing parties. Therefore, it would be very important the defeat of Fidesz, because it may have a leverage on the other far-right parties. It could be disencourage them and make a bad impact on their hopes and expectations. If Fidesz wins, of course, he can support further these parties. You should know that Fidesz provided overall support for those parties, not only political support, but even financial support, infrastructural support. As you know, Hungary provided loan for Abascal, for the Spanish far-right party, for Marine Le Pen party in France, and so on, in the neighboring countries, intermeddling the elections and so on. Therefore, it is very important for the other far-right parties that Fidesz should win. And even they have been here in Budapest, and they expressed their strong support for Fidesz victory.
Donald Trump, along with the Kremlin, supports Viktor Orbán, whose government, as we know, has been acting on Russia's orders to paralyze the EU. Now, is weakening the US allies in Europe more important to Donald Trump than countering Russia, which is doing its best to undermine the global position of the US?
Yes, it's very sorry, and I couldn't imagine a year ago that it may happen, but it seems to be that both of them, Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin, they are very much interested to have someone who can undermine and who can weaken the position of the European Union, and that's the reason that, for different reasons, but both of them supporting Mr. Orbán. But Mr. Putin is not that popular, and even Mr. Trump. The same. They are not so popular in the Hungarian electorate. Maybe in the hardcore Fidesz voters, they like Putin, they like Trump because Orbán likes them. But the others, the rest of the population, the rest of the people, they are not happy about that, and I don't think so that they have a big impact on the final outcome. As you know, that's according to the rumors, Mr. Vance, G.D. Vance, Vice President, will visit Hungary and to provide a support and endorsement for Mr. Orbán, but I do not expect that it may have a strong impact.
Right, so we know that most probably J.D. Vance will be visiting Hungary to boost the chances of Viktor Orbán's Fidesz. But apart from that, in your opinion, what will this remainder of this, brutal election campaign will look like in Hungary?
You are right, it's very brutal. Even there are some physical incidents on the streets against the activists and so on. And verbally is very brutal. Very brutal. All the time you can hear that you are a traitor, you are a criminal, and so on. That's a verbal campaign is very, very bad. And it's really a smear campaign. And even the Secret Service intervened to some extent to that campaign. And that's very sorry. That's the first time that's very clear that there is a meddling from the Secret Service in the campaign. That's also a big scandal, and I think so. It was also somehow a turning point, and many people were very much intimidated by that, and said that's enough. We wouldn't like to accept anymore.
Right, so you say that there's this brutalization of the political campaign, of the election campaign in Hungary. Don't you think that whatever government emerges from the election after April 12th, it will inherit a sort of a fractured Hungarian society?
Unfortunately, yes, that's true, and it's very important to consolidate the atmosphere here, because now it's very antagonized and very hostile, and cannot live for long under those circumstances. It's really, we can feel on our skin that it's very depressing and frustrating to live there. I hope so very much that the opposition will win and they can make some effective steps to consolidate the situation and to make some reconciliation, because now the society is very much divided and very much hostile against each other.
István Szent-Iványi, former Hungarian State Secretary of Foreign Affairs, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews here on TVP World.